Welcome to another edition of the ATM Bros here on Regan's Corner Sports Network. I'm again with my co-host Sam the Hammer Satoski here. Sammy boy, how's it going and how is it poppin'?
Going good. I'm excited for episode 2 and ready to talk about receivers today.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back after this. Welcome back, Sammy boy. We're talking about the wideouts, the wide receivers. So, who do you have first as your wide receivers in the top 10?
Starting at 10, I put in my number 10 spot Garrett Wilson. Um, I put him here. I think he has potential to be a high end, receiver one. He could be really good with Aaron Rodgers, but they do have a lot of weapons there. He still is young going into his sophomore season, and Aaron Rodgers is old. So we have a lot of possible negative impacts there, but also a lot of positives. So I think he'll break that top 10. He has potential to be top 5 for sure, but I got him at number 10.
I like it, but again, Sammy boy, I think he's a little too low with that Aaron Rodgers. I know they got some more weapons this year for Rodgers, but man, where do you go from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers and you have a season like he did? It was almost like a Taylor McLaurin season where he has no quarterback and still put up numbers his freshman year in the
Yeah,
league. And then you add
yeah,
him.
I can see where you're coming from there with him being low. It's definitely low versus what most people have him at. I'd say. I just am a little worried that we start to see a washed up Aaron Rodgers.
True, true. The Cliff, I mean,
Yeah.
it gets you once in a while, okay? The only one that's successful with that was Brady, but he still saw it with his divorce this year. So, but let's say my first one will go with Jalen Waddle. Okay, so there's a lot of weapons in Miami there for Waddle. Um, Much like you said with Garrett Wilson, I see a lot in Waddle, but at the same time, is Tua going to stay healthy for him to get the ball to Hill and Waddle? And how much does Hill get Waddle's touches? And then how much does Waddle get out of his touches? So there's a lot of kind of hit and miss here with Jalen Waddle there, Sammy boy.
Yeah. I
But
think I like your pick there with Waddle. I did keep him out of my top 10 because of the fact that Tyreek Hill will always hold him to a maximum limit. So I will always see him as a wide receiver too, since he's the number 2 option there. So that's why I kept him out of my top 10.
absolutely. And that's totally understandable. That's why I was kind of cautious about him in the top 10. And you fantasy owners, you got to be cautious of that because we don't know if Tua's healthy. If Tua's healthy, both start, must start in both. If he's not, then you would go with Hill every single game because you don't know what Wild's going to do. He's kind of like that Juju player with Antonio Brown kind of feel this year. But um, who do you got at 9 there, Sammy?
9. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Detroit Lions. I like him there just because of the way he finished last season. You saw a huge blow up when the Lions started to do good there, and they finished the season strong. And he really started to put up numbers as the receiver one in Detroit, and that offense is still going to be good. They didn't lose anything. In fact, they only gained players to make them better. And the defense is still going to be bad, so they're still going to be chasing points, passing the ball, and Amon-Ra is going to be the guy to go to. So he's an almost unguardable receiver, in my opinion. I always root for him. I love the guy, and I think he's going to put up points. He has great potential to break top five, but he's a safe pick, in my opinion, no matter where you take him.
I like your pick. You just missed my top 10. I just Goff has been good the last 2 years in Detroit, but he's like Kirk Cousins. He's like that middle road quarterback. He'll get you numbers, but at the same time, I don't know if you trust him with a wide receiver like St. Brian. That's the kind of
Yeah.
that's iffy with me with putting Brown in this because he's kind of a fringe with 11, 10 kind of wide receiver here. But I like what you're thinking. I like what you're putting down. Let's see here. But Salmon Boy, I'm gonna go with kind of a surpriser here. Okay, most people have him a lot higher than what I have. Okay, but I'm gonna go C.D. Lamb at number 9. Okay, um, with McCarthy calling the shots there in Dallas, I don't really trust his usage this year. I really don't. Um, I don't trust the big throws that he had with Kellen Moore as the coordinator, as Mike McCarthy kind of even hurt Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers' connection the last 2 years. He was at Green Bay. So I don't really like the CD Lamb here. But at the same time, he's just too damn good not to have him in your top 10 as a route runner, as a deep threat. A couple games there where he's going to just ball out loud here. And that's why he still deserves to be in the top 10. I just don't trust that coordinator who's the head coach at Dallas. And Sammy Boy, this one might get your blood pulling here at number 8. I got Cooper Kupp at 8. What you thinking here, Sammy Boy? As I got Cooper Kupp at 8 here. Okay, Sam. As we're having problems, technical problems here at Regan's Corner at the second here, as I got Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to have a really good year here. He could be possibly top 5, but at the same time, injury bug the last 2 years has got me a little worried about Cooper. Um, with him and with his quarterback and Matt Stafford, Backup quarterback is also Stetson Bennett. So um, you're going to have very lackadaisical kind of form of that quarterback position, and Matthew Stafford can't be healthy this year. So Cooper Cup, a league winner possibility, but I have him slotted at number 8. Okay, who do you got at 8, Sam? Sammy boy.
I just I don't know how he can be so low, and he's countlessly proven that he's elite. For the time that he was healthy, he was the receiver one by a large margin last year, and I just see him coming back healthy, Matthew Stafford coming back healthy. That that duo is going to be deadly again, just like we always expected it to be.
Absolutely. But I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, Matthew Stafford getting older, Cooper kind of shown the injury bug, kind of what McCaffrey had in Carolina. Um,
And now McCaffrey is the number one running back.
right, but does Cooper get that same kind of playback
Yeah,
or feedback?
I get where you're coming from. I can get behind that, but I still think 8 is too low, even with the injury scares. If you were to say he's pushed out of the top 3, maybe to 5, I could understand that, but 8, we're just gonna have to butt heads on that and see how the season goes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So who do you got at number 8 there, Sammy boy?
Number 8, I have AJ Brown. AJ Brown for my number 8. Now everybody likes him this year, um, at least that I talked to, and I have just I've never been a huge fan of AJ Brown. Never drafted him personally. I believe you had him last year in fantasy. Um, is that right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
He for most of the year. Playoff wise, he didn't do jack shit. So uh, um, I can see why you have him so low, just because the playoff performances. AJ Brown really in fantasy, he's been a throwaway the last 2 3 years, and somebody who's had him during the playoffs for the last 2 years, I could see that, but
I I think he's amazing. He is really good, but the 7 I have before him are just better. I think after the 8 spot, it starts to get to really good receivers, and he's got such a good offense, great quarterback, so he's going to get points. But there's also going to be a lot of people on that offense that get points.
uh,
So he's not going to be the main guy every single week. And I think there's others that are just going to be more, not necessarily reliable, because I do think he'll be a reliable start every week, but just more likely to have higher points weekly versus just boom weeks where he had last year.
right. Yeah, I get that. As
Mhm.
someone who got bit by him in the playoffs numerous times. Um, but I kind of like his upside with Jalen Hurts developing
Yeah.
into a Super Bowl quality quarterback as he was. Speaking of Super Bowl quality quarterbacks, Josh Allen is number one target. Stephon Diggs is pretty low on both of our lists here, just because of that kind of off-field drama that they had all off season so far. Um, is kind of getting me a little bit touchy with number 7 with the Frost King himself with Diggs here. Uh,
Yep.
so, what are your feelings about him at number 7 here?
Well, obviously, as you saw, I also have him at number 7. Um, So both of us having him at 7, I think we understand that something about that Bills offense seemed off by the end of the year and in the offseason. And I just don't see Stefan being the Stefan that we've seen him be before. I think he's obviously an elite receiver, one of the best in the league, so he's going to be a top 10 receiver. He's a safe pick, safe start, almost bust proof, I'd say. But I don't I don't see him having the best season Stephon Diggs has ever had. I see him honestly having a start to decline here, starting this year, and possibly a different future for him if things go even worse this year. So I've got him at number 7, and the 6 I had before him, I believe, will definitely finish higher than him.
Absolutely. And speaking of that six, uh, and as this kind of debate top 10 show has kind of hit a little bit of a stall there, Sam, because uh, at number 6, we agree once again here,
Yep.
with both picks being Devontae Adams, um, which with you, I'm kind of similar here with the kind of Garoppolo. If he's the quarterback to begin with, it's kind of a if he will, if he won't, because you get Waller shipped out to New York. So, how is it kind of play with Devonte Adams this year, who's also been kind of injury prone? Well, and I've had him on the roster too.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a downgrade from before, but to be honest, I've never thought Derek Carr is all that great either. So for him to put up the numbers he did, especially in that stretch of weeks where he was putting up ridiculous numbers there with Derek Carr, I'm not too worried about Jimmy Garoppolo because Devontae Adams is going to do Devontae Adams things, and that's him putting up monster numbers, being a must start every week, and him just showing why he's one of the best receivers in the league and somebody that everybody's got to keep an eye on the defense because he's gonna torch you and he's gonna put up points. It's always gonna happen with Devontae Adams until he starts to get old, which is coming. But I still see that explosiveness, and I still think he'll put up good numbers this year.
Absolutely. So, what's your number 5th pick going to be here, Sam?
Number 5, I have CeeDee Lamb, which is a lot higher than you had him. I understand the McCarthy worries and less passing attempts and everything, but honestly, CeeDee Lamb is what I think the lightning in that offense. Um, Tony Pollard showed he's a great running back last year. They got rid of Zeke, so there's one less mouth to feed. But CeeDee Lamb he does it all. He'll take screen passes, deep passes, jet sweeps. I think CeeDee Lamb is one of the most talented receivers in the league, and the Cowboys always find a way to be good in the regular season. So they never finish, but they always find a way to be a pretty good team in the regular season. So I think he'll get the opportunities to score points, and he will score points. On the other hand, there is a slight downside of them not passing the ball as much as you're used to see, but I I would take him and be
Um,
feeling great having him as my wide receiver 1.
yeah, I hear what you're saying here, Sam Boy. It's just that worry, man. I mean, he's going to go to a run heavy offense. Powler, he's going to eat as long as he's healthy. I just don't know if less the play action pass is beneficial to Dak Prescott and the long balls with CD Lamb. And that's where I could see him as our right receiver 1 here. It's just the play actions. But it just scares me a little bit here. But I'm going to also go with the player that kind of scared you a little bit and put him a little bit low. I'm going to go A.J. Brown at 5.
I like it. That's what a lot of people have told me is they like AJ Brown super high, and it's understandable. But to be honest, I just I don't think he's got what it takes to break into the top five. But again, we'll have to butt heads and find how it goes this season.
Absolutely. Um, and I'm going to go with kind of a shocker again here. I'm going to go Debo Samuels here at number 4. Just because he's a switch Army knife here, Sam, and does everything for that 49ers offense. I know I'm a quarterback guy. I know I'm a situational guy, but much like what you said with Adams, Debo's going to get his stuff. If it's Brock Purdy, if it's Sam Darnold, um, I don't think Trey Lance. I think he gets shipped off second or third preseason game. Um, but I think it's Purdy or I think it is Darnold, and I think either one's going to eat with Debo Samuels, with Christian McCaffrey, with that offense. Um, and this is one of the reasons why you pick Christian McCaffrey high, because that usage rate will be not as much as it was in Carolina. Okay, because of this guy right here, with the jet sweeps, with just being that overall great option as a fancy wide receiver, um, at my 4th here. Who do you got at 4 there?
Well, before I get to 4, I wanted to touch on your 4. Um, I don't know, Josh. I feel like 4 is a steep slope for Debo Samuel. Um, I I think that offense is definitely Christian McCaffrey heavy. I can understand where you're getting your thought process from, but 4 is a steep slope there, and just with his injuries, with the amount of options in that offense, him honestly not being that amazing of a receiver but he is great, like you said, Swiss Army knife. He does it all. But when it comes to just straight receiver, he is no Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams type receiver that is just lethal. He's more of a do it all, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. The quarterback situation's scary. Christian McCaffrey's scary. I think it's a scary, scary pick. And if I'm a fantasy owner, I'm going to be honest. I only want Debo if I'm getting great discount for it. Something, lower than his ADP to where I don't have to worry about him being a bust for my draft.
Absolutely, I hear what you're saying, uh, especially when you have number 4 here. And I kind of had a blonde moment here, and I didn't put Tyreek Hill in my top 10, um, which I don't know what I was doing with this, to
Yeah.
be looking at it now, especially with the graphics. But why should we ignore here the CEO with Tyreek Hill? An obvious question here.
Yeah, so I had Tyreek Hill at 4, as you can see. And, I wouldn't be mad if you decided to change your 4 spot to Tyreek Hill instead of Debo Samuel. But that being said, Tyreek Hill is a monster. We see him, eat and eat and eat. He gets receptions all the time. Even with Jalen Waddle there, he was getting ridiculous amount of yards and receptions. He's bust proof. He finished last year in the half PPR league that we did, the number 2 receiver. Yet again, Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp both had injuries, so it's hard to say if he would have beaten them out both a full healthy year. But regardless, he did finish number 2, and you can't argue that. So I think no matter the quarterback, he's bust proof. Even if Tua does get hurt, he's still gotten the numbers. You can start him on your fantasy team, no worries.
Absolutely no worries there, Sam. So, you fantasy owners, ignore my top 10 because Tyreek Hill should be at least in the top 5, if not in the top 2 or 3 in people's fantasy drafts. Like you said, Sam, he is an absolute stud, no matter what quarterback he is with. Okay. So, speaking of quarterbacks, you had him at 10. I have him at 3 with Garrett Wilson. I think the Ohio State product takes a huge step ski into this year as he was balling last year. A lot like what you said with Tyreek Hill. The slot running's already there. Unless he has a sophomore slump. I just feel like he's kind of the Jets' version of Cooper Cup. He will always like kind of be that stud there and there. And then you give him, arguably, if he's still not over that cliff, one of the best skill wise quarterbacks in the history of the game with Aaron Rodgers. Um, to me, that's a huge upgrade from Zach Wilson, even if he hits that cliff. Because the only thing good about Zach Wilson is he goes for the Cougars. Um, no puns intended, since you graduated from BYU there, Sammy boy. But what do you think about the young guy being third here?
Yeah, like when I talked about Garrett Wilson, I said he has that high ceiling. So he does have that potential to break that top 5, maybe even top 3. But to just automatically put him top 3 before he's proven he's a top 3 receiver over receivers like Cooper Cup, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, I think it's a steep call. If he fell to me in a draft, I would think about it. I'd have to see my options and what round. What do you feel like you would take him at?
I might take him at 3, 4, 5. Uh, to be honest with you, I like Wilson a lot, especially with Aaron Rodgers pairing. Just because the running of routes of this guy. I mean, it'd be like Terry McLaurin getting Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers looking at that wide receiver. He's got weapons from days. I think he's gonna just absolutely fall for this guy right here. He's done much better with worse talent. Um, look at Christian Wilkinson last year, no name uh, rookie who just absolutely was a stud in fantasy in the last couple of weeks just because of Aaron Rodgers being there and his development throughout the year. Um, and then you give him this guy who's just an outstanding product from Ohio State. Uh, but we're going to go with your number 3 in a second here.
Yep, that's my guy right there, Cooper Cup at number 3. You just you gotta have him in your top 3, in my opinion. He's proven it time and time and again. He finished like a top 20 or maybe the number 16 or 17 receiver this season with only playing however many weeks he played. That's just that's crazy with how much numbers he put up this year, and I think having him outside of your top 3 is disrespectful to what he's created. Um, I guess I can understand where you're coming from with worries about injuries and everything, but I'm not going to count this guy out. You count him out last year or whatever. I get it after the injury and everything, but I still think he's going to put up monster numbers and be a top 3 receiver this year.
Oh, Sammy boy. I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, it's just that the slot wide receiver that Cooper Cup is. I mean, what? And he's starting to break down with the last 2 years with injury bug. Granted, he was the best wide receiver last 2 years in fantasy before he gets hurt. But I'm looking towards the playoffs. The playoffs. Who's they going to develop? Who are you going to get as a value piece during the draft? Uh, so, are you going to reach for Cup too high with that quarterback situation? If Matthew Stafford goes down, do you choose Stinson Bennett as a possible savior, or do you bring Cam Newton off the street, or whoever you could see? Um, and does he still get those numbers? Or do you just, because there were some trade rumors where he would just go to Detroit. Um, so, uh, but he's one of the best last 2 years in fantasy. I could see why you have him really high here. I respect that. So we're going to go into the second one, which I'm going to get killed on social media for this one because he's going to be going in most people's drafts number one overall. I have Justin Jefferson as two here. As two, okay? With the departure of Dalvin Cook, with the departure of Adam Thielen, Jefferson's going to get double teamed. And Swaggy Kurt, Two Chains, Cousins. Uh, do you really, on a big game moment, um, trust the Two Chain Cousins here to give this elite weapon, elite, and Justin Jefferson? And does the value at the number one pick or second or third, is he worth all that hype? Um, as that number one, number two, he's great. He's probably arguably the best wide receiver in this draft. But where he's slated, do you go for that number one pick overall to Jefferson?
I think you got to. I think with the numbers he put up, the numbers he's gonna put up again, you gotta understand with Kirk Cousins there. I don't really think Kirk is a terrible quarterback. I think he can get the ball where it needs to go, and you get help around him. You give him an O line. You give him everything he needs. He'll make the plays. They just drafted a rookie receiver that's really going to help open up the field for Jefferson. Obviously, double teaming we saw did work. The Packers locked him up there in the last game, which happened to be the fantasy championship. Him putting up a whopping 15 yards did hurt, having him last year. But still, I'll never hate the guy because of the season he had. And I got to, carry some of that when I traded for him. And I think you're safe taking him first or second pick. I think you're safe. You got to, and he'll give you the numbers you need.
Absolutely. So, who do you got at number two?
For my number two, I've got Jamar Chase. We are flip flopped, it looks like. So I got Jamar Chase here. I think he could be number one, especially with such a great offense. But then again, he's not greedy. He's not the only one. He's got T. Higgins there and plenty of other options. So it's really just an eat type of offense. Everybody's going to eat. Everybody's going to get the points. So I don't know. I think Jefferson is the star. So that's why he'll be the number one receiver. But Chase is a better bang for your buck, like you were probably talking about, because you can get him a little bit later. If like me, I'm in the fourth spot in the draft, I have a good chance of getting Chase or somebody after me if I don't take him. But I don't know. I think Chase is on par with Justin Jefferson, just not quite as talented, only in a better system.
Absolutely. So this is why I took just Jamar Chase #1, Sammy, just because of Joe Burrow. I think he's one hell of a quarterback, and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And like you said, that offense is going to eat. When Joe Mixon is one of your worst pieces, oh my goodness, you're going to eat all day long. Um, Especially with Cincinnati's division, with it's getting a little bit worse last year, but getting a little bit better with the Ravens this year. Cleveland, we don't know what they are. We don't know what they are with Sean Watson. Okay. So you have the absolute cheat code in Chase and Burrow already having that chemistry. It's like a Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning kind of thing going on there. It's like a Robert Gronkowski and Tom Brady thing going on there. You try stopping it, but you can't stop it. Okay? Joe Sizey. Okay, Joe Breezy. Okay, Joe Burrow. Okay? Oh, my goodness. So, I just
Yeah,
had to put him at #1. Just had to.
you
But
explained it perfectly, and I like that you put him #1 because I'm hoping he's my receiver this year.
I hope you get him, okay? I hope you do. So when we come back to this, when he's #1, you can thank me here on ATM Bros on a Sunday. But let's go to your guy, okay? And Jefferson once again there, Sammy boy. So what makes him again #1 in most people's eyes here by a long margin to even Mr. Chase?
Yeah, like I said before, I got him at #1 just because of his. Proven he's got the best wide receiver ability in the NFL. He's put up almost a historical season. I mean, almost breaking the record. But I don't know. I wouldn't consider it a long margin ahead of Chase. I think Chase is right there behind him. In a healthy, full season, Cooper Kupp could also be compared with him. But somebody's got to be #1, and I just have Jefferson there. I think he'll do it again, just like last year, be the #1 receiver, and we wouldn't be shocked if he was #1.
No, we would not be. That's why he's slated at 1 and 2. I think you're going to like either Jefferson or Chase if you pick him early. A lot of those running backs at the top of the draft, it, to me, it's kind of cursed kind of way. So whatever running back I select, I feel like I'm going to get cursed at that top 3 spots or trade him in week 1, um, like I do almost all the time. Uh, so I might even be thinking wide receiver my first 3 picks or pick or whatever. But just to keep it in mind here, with maybe Jefferson if it falls down, probably not. Maybe even a Chase. Uh, so, um, but I don't know. I mean, there, but it is what it is, Sammy boy. We'll see what happens in the regular season. The stats and the kind of who starts and who sits on our weekly Sunday live podcasts. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. But we're going to be back in 2 weeks for our favorite, the quarterback matchups, the quarterback top 10 for you And we possibly will have the commish and Colin Froge, or even your brother and Owen, the Big O, on here. So we kind of see who they even like as the top quarterbacks in the league and what value and everything like that. But hey, we're so money with our picks, we don't need a time machine here, Sam. Okay, so Regan out, and Satoski out, and we just go back into the machine as we go back into it 2 weeks from now, 2 Tuesdays from now. But good luck at Worlds with wiffle ball and
Thank you.
hometown and all that jazz as we get back into action.